That's what I do. I write words that make stuff sell.
I love it. Pay attention to what this guy says today, because you're really going to see how words sell, right? Because he is quite the wordsmith. He's been working with me for close to 4.5 years now, going on 5 years. So
right.
Today we were talking about, I'm very passionate about this topic today. We're talking about who decides your worth, your clients or yourself. And I wanted to share a personal story with you guys, because even me, I know some of you guys look at me as like this guy who's accomplished so much and he's at this certain level and so on. And I'm humbled by that, but I have so much further to go. And like, I don't let that fandom get in my head too much, because you start to think that you don't have to do certain things anymore, or you're just, I am who I am now, right? And you let that ego start to get ahead of you, and it is the quickest way to fail, because at the end of the day, all of this can be taken in one instant from us. But I want to share with you an experience that I've had recently that humbled me. So I'm always trying to get different people on the Brand Doctor podcast. I'm always trying to work with people that have a higher caliber than me, because one, I want to learn from them, but two, I really want to help them with my expertise, because a lot of these guys at the next level up, and I keep saying that, but we're all on the same playing field. And this is the moral of the story, really. But I've continuously, over the course of 13 years, doesn't matter what or who, I always feel sometimes that I'm playing at the kids' table, or these bigger guys are looking at me like, Henry, like, you're not really influencer. You're not really the influencer type. Maybe this isn't for you, right? Or they look at me and think that I'm just another branding talking bobblehead who thinks he knows what he's talking about, and he doesn't. And, he's just trying to make a quick buck online. But all these things go on in my head, and it stops me from pursuing my goal, or continuously following up with these people to get them on the show, or continue to work with them. And when I was talking to my mindset coach today, I was telling her what I was frustrated with, because this happened to me last week. I reached out to a guy. He's got 2 million followers. He's a pretty big name in the sports world, knows a lot of pro athletes. And I reached out to him to see if I could help him with his branding, because it really sucks. I'm not going to lie. And I think that's one thing that's really holding him back from breaking through, is his legitimacy online. He just doesn't look the part. And people, I think these bigger brands are like, we're not going to invest in you because you look like you're working out of your mom's basement. Right? So I reach out to him and I'm like, listen, I would love to help you, but here's what I would ask for in return. So he begins the dialogue and we start going back and forth, and then he just ghosts me. And that rocked the ego a little bit. Right? So I was like, you know what? Fuck him. Right? That was my first reaction. I'll show him. I'll meet him at the top. I'll see him at the top. Don't worry. Right? And I start to get all like puffy and, like a little kid, and I realized that was such a horrible response. Right? So I tell this story to one of my coaches, and she says, well, here's where your mindset is flawed. Your thinking's flawed. You think that you're still sitting at the kids' table, and you already have the caliber, and you already have everything that it takes to be sitting at the adult table. The problem is you haven't pulled out the seat for yourself, and just sat the hell down. You keep waiting for permission or to be invited to the big people's table when your ass needs to get up, find a seat, and sit down at it and say, look, mofos, I'm here now. And where does that come from? That confidence has to come from within. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because I feel like all of us in this world, not to get crazy woo-woo here, but all of us in this world are still trying to figure it out. And before we take our last breath, we're still going to be trying to figure it out. So you can't pigeonhole yourself. You can't make yourself feel like you're less than, because you're never going to get to where you want to be with that mentality. So I want to stop talking, and I want Lee to kind of share a recent experience that he had that was sort of on the similar topic of conversation.
So, I fully admit that for a lot of years I was plagued with the I'm not good enough syndrome. Growing up and out through high school, I was kind of the outsider looking in because I wasn't the football. I didn't fit really in any of the niches, the cliques. So I was just kind of on my own, just outside looking in. That kind of continued in college, and I adopted that mindset of just, the successful stuff, that's for other people. So this is something that I have routinely struggled with, and that's kept me from charging what I was worth as a copywriter. It's kept me from going after the clients that I wanted. Even like, okay, Russell Brunson's one of my clients, and I'm still afraid to go ask somebody if they need help with their copy. And it's like, in what universe does that make sense? Only in the one in between my ears, right? Yeah. But I've really been putting a lot of effort into just breaking down those walls and just being like, you know what? Why not me?
Yeah.
And that was really that question, why not me? And so I went up to a fairly, I would say, well-known business owner, entrepreneur, who has worked with some very big names, right? And we met by chance on LinkedIn and connected, and he sent me a message. He said, how can I serve you? Which I thought was a great question to open up a dialogue. And I thought about it, and I said, you know what? You can serve best by sharing your story. I'd like you to be on my podcast,
Yeah.
And just somebody who's monumentally more successful than I am in my eyes. And he come back, he said, look, sure, set it up with my assistant. Here's his email address. And it just dumbfounded me because all of those barriers were just instantly broken down. And we were just one human to another. You know what? I want to hear your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that transcends all those things, those walls we put up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what you said offline, I want to highlight too, is you said, okay, I really didn't know who this guy was
right
at first. And, when you mentioned his name to me, I go, holy shit, Lee, like, that's a really big name.
Okay.
And you were like, oh, wow, I didn't know, like that what's that, what the naivete, I believe that is called, right? Where like, you're just naive to the guy. You didn't even realize how big he was. And then what did you say offline? You said, quite frankly, I really don't give a shit who the guy was. Not in a bad way. Yeah. But it's I want him to come on and share his story. He sounded like a really interesting guy. And like,
true.
Right? And now you have a really well-known person in the sports marketing world and on your show. And I think that like people need to stop labeling themselves as less than this person. And again, it all comes back down to this like comparison problem that's going on social media. And like, oh, this guy hangs out with this guy. This guy hangs out with this guy. So, these guys are worth more than me. These guys are, and it's so not true, because like you have things that they don't, and vice versa. And, it's funny. My mindset coach said something really important to me today. She said, you know this already, Henry, but I see a pattern with you, because she's been working with me for like 2.5 years now. She says, you get amnesia. You forget how valuable you are. And here's where it gets funny. Let me share with you a funny story. So my wife and I have a 2-year-old son. We take him to go see Lion King in the theater a couple of months ago when it first came out. What a bad idea, because he was too small, and he was in the first 20 minutes, it's pretty intense. And the poor kid's heart was like pounding out of his chest. He was so scared. So we had to leave, and I have a confession to make. I've never seen The Lion King in my life before. I'm 39 years old. So I had no idea what the movie was about, quite frankly. I just knew some of the characters, right? So we had to leave. So I was kind of bummed that we had to leave. So it finally comes out on demand, and I just put in this theater system in my basement. And I was like, you know what I'm going to watch today? Because the rest of my family's sick in bed upstairs. I said, we're going to go watch The Lion King. So last night, it's me, myself, and I all cozied up on my couch, watching Lion King on the big screen.
Nice. Very
and
good.
I'm taking notes like a psychopath, because I was like, I know that there's going to be value bombs in this movie.
Right.
So one of the quotes in the movie was from one of the lions, and it was Mustafa, or I forget his name, but he was the father lion, and he said, a true king searches on ways to serve. And I thought that was a really important line for all of us to understand. If we want to influence people, if we want to be seen as a subject matter expert, if we want to be seen as an authority in our space, then we need to be true kings or queens. And that is really searching for ways to serve rather than to take, right? Because there was another character in the Lion King movie, Scar, who was the brother of the king, and he was very spiteful. He was very resentful, because he wanted to take all the time. And so that's the one line. The second line was when Simba was getting older, and he was in that other part of the jungle where everything was safe, and he didn't want to leave. He was having fun with the warthog and the little lemur. And finally the monkey shows up in his life, and Monkey says, hey, do you want to come see your dad? And his dad was dead already, right? And he was like, of course I want to go see my dad. So he was like, all right, follow me. So they take him to this lake, and Mufasa comes and starts to speak to his son through the clouds, right? And Mufasa says, you have to go back there and save your family. Like, they're counting on you, right?
Right.
And he starts to fade away, and the son says, don't leave me again, right? And I could get choked up just thinking about this, because when he said that, I kept thinking about my mom. And my mom passed away a few years ago. And Mufasa turns around and says, I never left you. I've always been inside you. And all I kept thinking about was my mom. And like, there's so many mannerisms, and there's so many things, so many like things that I do that are like her. Right. So that's the one thing that kind of like rocked my cage a little bit and got me a little emotional. And you can probably see it right now. But the second thing that he said to his son before he faded away was, he said, always remember who you are. Okay. So that's my message for you guys today, is to never forget who you are, because we've all been put here for a purpose. Now, I'm not going to get religious because I'm not super religious myself, but I truly believe that we've all been put here on purpose for something, and it's our responsibility to seek that out and to find what that is, right? Lee happened to found it through copywriting. I happen to find it through design and branding. You know, you may be in the fitness space and you're helping people lose weight and live healthier lives. Who knows? But it's our responsibility to find that. Nobody's going to come along and say, hey, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right? And then as you go through, that is what I want you guys to really take away, is to really understand that we're all worth something. And never let anyone or anything tell you you're not. And you have to have that confidence up front. Otherwise, you lost already, and you didn't even start to play the game.
Nicely said.
Yeah. There was a podcast that I was listening to, and it was about I think it was Russell Brunson's podcast. And he was talking about one of his wrestling coaches back in the day. And one of the things that the wrestling coach did was he always said, I'll never let one of my players or wrestlers get on the mat without them feeling like they can win. He said, I will forfeit the game or the match before I let one of my wrestlers out on the mat and have them feel like they're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how we need to play the game of life. And I think that's the way we need to play the game of business. If we feel like we're not going to win, then don't even jump in the ring. You know, I know who's watching here, Kurtone. He was a boxer.
Oh, cool.
He was a boxer. And I'm going to ask him right now, did you ever get in that ring and say to yourself, there's no way that I'm going to win this?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. Probably not, because then you get your head beat in. And I think people are jumping into business like that, or they're getting smacked around by other people's opinions, or getting their ego hurt, like mine got hurt the other day when the guy didn't respond to me. Like, again, guys, it's not about you. And when that ego starts to flare, that's the trigger that you should realize, where you're putting too much focus on yourself. There could have been 1,000 different reasons why that person never responded. But right away, I took it personal. Right? Kurtone says he believed he was the best every time he stepped in the ring. I get it. You know, boxing, seriously, boxing of all sports, right? You're getting toe to toe with somebody with some gloves on. Like, if you think you're beat, this guy's going to pummel your face. Right? So
right.
I just wanted to share that with you guys today, because too many of us, including myself, put the worth scale in someone else's hands. And I think it's the worst way to run life and the worst way to run business.
The biggest problem with it is generally what we're doing is not really adhering to other people's opinion of us and other people's perception of our value. What we're doing is basing our self-worth on what we're projecting onto them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's easy to look at somebody, and I see this in, it's just like if I'm going into the grocery store and, somebody cuts me off with their cart, they've got a sour look on their face. And there are times when my brain will immediately go, what did I do to them? What, and they'll just, and you don't have any, you forget that, okay, this person's probably running around with an entire list of stuff in their head that they're trying to get done too. Plus they're worried about God knows what. And they're tired and don't want to be there any more than you do. And they've got this whole world going on that doesn't really involve you.
Yeah.
And we forget that.
Yeah.
And so pay attention to what you're doing. Like if you don't answer somebody right away.
Yeah.
Or what makes you decide to ghost somebody, or maybe you don't really mean to, but like, okay, I got this meeting, but I'll get back to them later. And then 2 days go by.
Yeah.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I feel bad about it, but then, instead of like continuing to feel bad, I go, okay, stop feeling bad. Just email them and go, hey, I'm sorry. I got distracted. That happened, But there are all these things going on in their world that don't involve you. And when I say you, I mean all of us,
right? Right.
Including me, that we forget. So you're right. If you could step out of your own frustration and into, what could be going on in their world, it's easier to manage those expectations and not let those things drive you up the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Urban Creative says it takes time and development. Your worth is how much time you've spent to master what you do. Huge. I'm a firm believer of that. And it was funny. I had a team meeting. We have team meetings here at Unique Designz on Monday mornings and on Thursday mornings. Because Monday we kick off the week with goals and expectations and accountability. And then Thursday, we recap the week and see what went well and what we need more continued support on. And one of the things that I realized that I said to these guys today was this: we need to continue to focus on mastering our craft and doing the best that we can for our clients and to outdo ourselves every day. Right. And you've all heard of this cliche quote before, but like, we need to make ourselves so damn good that we cannot be ignored. And that is my goal. Like, your opinion of me really doesn't matter. It really doesn't, unless you're somebody that is very, very close to me, like my wife, my father, my son when he gets of age, right? Like, those opinions matter. That feedback matters. It does. I'll be lying to you if I said it didn't. But from a random person on the internet or to somebody who I barely know, those opinions don't really matter to me. My opinion is, did I spend every minute today doing the best that I can? Right? Was I able to influence someone's life? Was I able to make somebody better? Was I able to make myself better? Was I able to make my work better? Because eventually your work is going to be so good, your people are going to start to notice you. And I'm starting to feel that now. So it's crazy. So I've been trying to reach out to this other individual for quite some time, probably 2 months now, right? Got a response back right away. Yeah, let's set it up. Let's do it. It'd be awesome, right? No response, nothing, right? 2 months goes by. I watched one of his videos last night. I respond back to him, and I was like, if you don't know my name yet, mark my word, you will very soon. And he liked it, because the topic of conversation was, how did Grant Cardone get so big? How did Ty Lopez get so big? And they just stayed consistent and was in people's faces all day long. And they had, some people hated on them. Some people became their biggest fans, right? But he said they never stopped. And so I got inspired by that post. So I followed up with this guy. last night, and I said, listen, man, I'm still interested in having you on the show. I'd love to be on yours. We could do some IG lives. This is what's going on with my community and how quickly it's growing. I know you could provide some great impact. Let's help these people, right? Didn't hear from him. I'm having this conversation with my mindset coach, and I'm like, I'm not complaining, but I'm going through this issue of me getting like ghosted. And I get an email notification while I'm talking to her. I pull the phone away from my ear. I look down, and there's Bradley's name booked for a podcast. I go, this is some woo-woo shit right here. I stopped dead in my tracks, and I was like, Mandy, this is some woo-woo shit. Look at right. And I told her what just happened, and she started cracking up. But like, so she says, you got to continue to follow up until they buy or die. It's like that old saying, right? Listen, as long as you present yourself professionally, I think I that holds true. But the other thing that I want you to pay attention to is this. So I followed up with this guy a couple times, no response. Last night when I followed up with him, I changed my tone and I changed where the spotlight was being shined. Instead of shining it on me, I shined it on him. And I said, I have an audience that's growing by the day. And I think you can create massive impact for them. That's why I'm reaching out. Had nothing to do with me. And bam, that clicked. That made him respond. That got him booked on the show. So big shout out to Bradley. I can't wait to meet you because I think he's doing some great things. And him and I think, share very similar mindsets. And I think we're coached by the same people. Because a lot of the things that come out of his mouth is a lot of things that I resonate with and I connect with. You probably heard me say once or twice. So, but he's in a completely different world than I am. But we share very common values. And I think that's what brings us together is aligning those values. And we all feel a sense of urgency to help other people or to make a difference or to make an impact. And I think that's how we all rise together by helping each other build and grow. You know, there's a reason why Lee and I do these live streams every Thursday. We've been very consistent for 5-6 weeks now. It's because we want to grow together. I mean, there's no sense of leaving somebody behind unless they don't want the help, right? But I just want to drop as much knowledge as I can for you guys because it all starts up here. If this isn't right, then these aren't going to be right and your business isn't going to be right. And so, again, I'm doing a lot of talking here, Lee. My apology, but
it's all good, man.
I feel like I have to get this out because it's present and it's been weighing on me for a while.
This is what I do, my friend. This is Lee After Dark. I just wind them up and let them go. I'm finding my whole footing with content. Finally, and you think as a copywriter that I would have done that a long time ago, but it shifts and, you know, platforms. So, you know, I tell you what, can I show you a little graph?
Sure.
Cool. And this is just to show you the,
Instagram's
yeah, it's not going to work on
Instagram.
Right, Instagram, but it's not going to be able to see it. But for as far as,
no, I might be able to do it if you put it on the screen.
That's okay. So this is what I've been doing on LinkedIn, and keep in mind this is just for the last. I've started really playing with it somewhere around here.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at this in just a matter of a week.
Woof.
Up 387%, and that's just from posting once a day and finding the right content to post.
Interesting.
So it really is getting into a rhythm of consistency. And that's what I want to stress here is not that I'm doing anything right, but just that I'm consistently working on developing my content around what people want. I mean, I'm still saying my thing,
Yeah.
but I'm finding out what parts of them resonate with it and then dialing in my message accordingly. And, it doesn't matter what platform. I'm not advocating here, everybody go rush over to link. I don't want you. Stay over here. But pick your platform that works and go. It's just, I'm finding that I love Instagram, I love Facebook, but LinkedIn's where I'm getting my traction, and that's what's putting calls on my calendar right now.
Yeah.
So, everybody thinks they have to be everywhere. In my opinion, you don't. And
listen, I agree full force. If you go to my Twitter account, there's like 500 followers on Twitter. I have zero influence over there, right? So for me to spend all my time and energy over there, it's going to take away from Instagram, where Instagram I have the biggest influence, right? So one of my team members on our team calls said to me a couple weeks ago, Henry, if a majority of your leads and work is coming from Instagram, why haven't you tripled down? And that was when I made the commitment, September 1. I am going to quadruple down on Instagram. And look what happened. In a little over 60 days, I grew the account 25,000 people. That's what happens when you focus your energies and attention to one specific thing. So another quick example. I think what happens is we try to be everywhere. We try to be everything to everyone. And like Kurtone says, find your one thing and go all in.
Yeah.
So like I was listening to a podcast yesterday and they brought up our buddy Ben Settle. He's a great copywriter. And this guy has a very simple business model. He emails his list of email subscribers once a day. There's always a story involved. He's always talking about his life. Right. He's got one offer, and it's a $97 newsletter that he sends you in the mail once a month.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's all he does is push people to buy that newsletter. And he's got, I think it's up to $500,000 a year in revenue just by sending one email a day and sending out a shitty newsletter. I shouldn't say it's just a shitty newsletter. It's a valuable newsletter, but it's on black and white paper. It is a basic. Mm-hmm. He probably gets it done at Kinko's, right? So let me refrain. The newsletter is extremely valuable. I subscribed to it for over a year and a half. It's a great newsletter, but there's nothing to it. It's a black and white sheet of paper with a couple of pages in it, right?
Just not something you'd frame.
Not something I would frame. Okay. But that's it. Doesn't care about anything else, makes a decent living, and he writes his goblin novels or zombie novels on his spare time. Like that's what he loves to do.
And you know what? If that's how he wants to do it, and he's successful his way. So that's really it. And you know what? It's part of when you determine your own value, you have the willpower to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. And that's exactly what led to that. What did I say? Almost 400% growth over a week is just. All it was me just dropping the gloves and go, you know what? I'm going to put out there what I'm going to put out there. And I'm revealing all, I talk about my faults. I talk about the things I do wrong. I talk about the things I do right. I get very personal.
Yep.
I take a big risk.
Yeah.
And that's basically saying, you know what? I've decided my story is good enough to hear.
That's it.
I have that value.
Right. And that's what I wanted. That's the moral of the story of me bringing up Ben.
Right.
Is that he does not give a shit about how people label him or where they put him on the level of success or the ladder of success. Mm-hmm. Right. He does what he loves to do every single day. And that's key. And that's what I want to share with you guys. You do not need 100,000 followers to feel like a success. You don't need a company with 17 employees to feel like it's a success. What you need to do is figure out what it is that just lights your ass up every day, and just do it. And just do it. And make sure that you're strategic and intentional and you have a plan and you execute that plan. It's funny. I was driving to get my wife. My wife is like sick as a dog for the past 2 weeks. I feel so bad for her. But I was driving to get her medicine yesterday. And as I was driving down the highway, I'm like, people like work for or work towards retirement. They work 30, 40 years towards retirement, right? And then they're done. Where I feel like I've been retired, honestly, I put in a good solid 8, 9 years worth of graphic design work, hustling my ass off. But once I figured out how to build a team, once I put my systems in place, once I started to replace myself from my business and trust other people to do the important tasks that help run a successful business, I would say about 5 years ago, I felt like I've been retired. I'm still hustling my ass off. I'm still working, but I'm doing what I love to do. And that is helping people scale their expertise, helping people level up their standard, and make them realize that like there's more to life than what you think it is right now. And like, I honest to God, we were joking around, like we were setting the tasks this week on Monday. And once all the tasks were delegated, I looked them all in the face on Zoom and I said, well, what the hell should I do now? Go to the beach? And they all started laughing. And my lead designer said, well, this is the glory that you can soak up when you have a team to help you delegate everything. Mm-hmm. And that's what made me think, like, I retired a while ago, but this is just me living life to the fullest and just doing what I love to do. And now, breaking into the pro athlete market and really working with these guys and helping them build themselves up and help them become more marketable and valuable and get those endorsement deals and help them sign bigger contracts. Like, when you feel it, you feel it. And I want all of you guys to feel that. I want you guys to get narrow and focused and niched and just go all in. And you do it until it works. Like, you got to be Braveheart about it. This shit is not going to be simple. It's not going to be easy. Give you a funny example. I had somebody reach out to me on Facebook, and they were like, I have a $7,500 budget, and I want 4 funnels built. I want this whole business. They showed me like their blueprint of their funnel. I want this whole thing built out for $7,500. And I said, how much money do you want to make? And they were like, I want to be doing 100K plus in less than a year. So do you think it's only going to cost you $7,500 to make that happen? And that's it? Your business is over. Your business is done. It's built and it's going to generate that. And all you had to spend was $7,500. Does that even sound realistic? And the guy was like, when you put it to me that way, it doesn't. Because he asked me, are there any expenses after that? First of all, I said, that's what he said. Is there anything that I have to pay for after that? And I was like, yeah, I was like, and that's what made me ask the question. Do you think 7,500 is going to build you an entire business? And I think that's where people are getting fooled, I hate to say, where that's all you need to do is this, and you're going to get that, right? So Curtone says, yeah, you pay for what you got, you know? Like, if you want to make $1 million, I can say easily my clients spend up to 20% to make that happen. So we're talking $200,000 to make $1 million. All right, guys, go follow. For everybody that's going to watch this later or watching it now, go follow Lee at the Lee Rowley, Rowley. He's got some great content on Instagram, and again, where he's getting a lot of love right now is LinkedIn. So go find him on LinkedIn and connect with him on LinkedIn. I think it's important for you guys to connect with him over there since he's spending quite a bit of time over there. So head over there and show Lee some love, because he's a great dude. He's been on our team for close to 5 years, and just a phenomenal individual. And a lot of my success I owe to him. If you have anything that you want people to run to, let them know now.
You know, I was thinking about this morning, and all I will say is this. Every December, I spend the entire month bombarded with New Year offers. Because coaches and consultants wait until December 1st, and they go, oh, shit, I got to get that New Year program out. I got to go get a copywriter. And then I get just absolutely leveled. So, like, if you've been on the fence on that and you've got a New Year offer and you want to talk to a copywriter about it getting it done, like, now would be the time, because I am going to get totally leveled in December.
Yeah. So reach out to Lee now before it's too late and he's not taking any clients.